this tutorial. It happens to be it happens to be the continuation of the course CSS246, and today we are going to be talking about mercenaries. It's a it's a continuation of what we have been discussing lately about security, and we'll be continuing. I think we're supposed to have this class on Friday, but for a reason or two, we are unable to have the class, so it was rescheduled for week 9. Okay, so without further ado, let's move straight into it. And just before we go straight into it, for those of us who are new to the stream, let's do to smash like button, subscribe to the channel, and use the comment section to make the class interactive. To also say hi, hello, good evening, and let us know where you're watching from. With this being said, let's go straight into it. Okay, so we have just a moment. It says 246. Okay, we're taking our bearing from the set term Mercenaries. I believe you all can see the board clearly. Please, if you cannot see the board clearly, do all to let me know in the comment section. Okay, now, we've been talking about security, and we have been able to talk about what it means by the private security. So in today's class, we are going to be intentional, all right? It's still a continuation, okay? It's a continuation on what we have been discussing about lately, which is about security, but just a little bit from a different angle this time around. Okay, I'm just trying to confirm the audio. Now the audio is okay, so now we can continue. Now, the mercenary is another type of private security. Okay, so mercenary falls under what we call private security. Are we good? Are we good? Okay, um, so to be another type of private security. Okay, it is basically under the private security. Now, a mercenary. Now let's trim it down a little bit. A mercenary happens to be a person, okay, who takes part in an armed conflict or hostilities, essentially by the desire for private. And what we're trying to say is that this is another form of security, but this form of security is run and controlled by a private body. When we say private body, we are simply talking about another individual, all right, hiring, all right, a security service. This security service now could be on a medium scale, on a mini scale, or a large scale. A mini scale is more like private security, but on a large scale is the term mercenary is used where someone is hired to go into what we call armed conflict on behalf of whosoever that has hired the person. Are we good? Now, it is defined as anyone who, not being national of the state against which his action are directed, all right, is employed. Get what I'm saying now? This person is employed, enrolled, or linked himself willingly to a person, group, or organization. All right, this is the hired or employed security service. Are we good to go? So now we have something called contract and proprietary contracts and proprietary services. All right, contract and proprietary. We have contract and right, proprietary services. What are we talking about here? This is also a private security, and it can be divided into what? Contract and proprietary service. We are also still talking about private security, but here it is divided into contract and proprietary services. Proprietary security operations, right? They are those that are in-house or controlled entirely by the company establishing security for its operation. Here now, this um, in-house security, or we're talking about organizations that open security services, organizations that render security services for the protections, all right, attached to only homes. Are we together? For the protections, all right, for home services. These are the services. Their own is to establish their firm, all right, get all the documentation from the government, then provide security services for homes. I think I know a couple of them in Abuja, where we have, I think I have that of Halogen Security Services. Okay, their major responsibility is to provide security for homes, probably like for schools, for homes, and you see them branded in their uniform. Okay, these are proprietary security services. Okay, so we have, is that most, for example, most state and federal government corporations operate private security services. So they provide for home and they provide for individuals that need security services. So it is basically what it is. Okay. Now, there's another type of security services called the hybrid system. The hybrid. Now, this hybrid system is the combination of proprietary management and contractual line services. Now, for hybrid program to be successful, according to Fisher and Green, said in 2004, all parties to the contract must be willing to what? Communicate openly to each other. Now, what we need to understand is that a good hybrid security operation must consist of four components, four important components. All right. But before we talk about the components, let's understand the fact that the hybrid system is of the combination of what we call proprietary. All right. We have a combination of proprietary, proprietary management. Okay. It's of the combination of proprietary management and contracts, contractual line services. Now, don't forget we said something about the proprietary. It's actually supposed to be proprietary. All right, services. Here, proprietary services are protections of protection for homes and services, more like the personal security services. Okay, the personal security services. But here, it's a combination of this and contract security. We call them contract security. Don't forget, when we say contract security, just like we hear of it in the ministries, these are contract staffs. They are not 100%. All right. They were not hired by the government. There are there are these organizations we refer to as um, they they are out there to source for workers. Okay. Now they provide the worker required by the government. So the government pays them for making available this set of workers to fill this set of vacant position. So now the government believes that they've done all the necessary things like proper documentations, training, bringing of guarantors, and the likes. Those ones has been settled. Okay, so they don't directly, all right, they don't directly respond or how do I put it now? They are not directly involved with the government, even though the government will give them roles, all right, requirement. They will have uh, they will have their responsibilities and what to do with the organization. But what I'm trying to say is that because of they are contracted, it is not the government that give them employment letter, all right? It is the hiring company, all right? They are responsible to the hiring company, okay? The hiring company is the company that has given them, that the government has given the contract. So now let's use this analogy. This is Mr. A and this is Mr. B. Mr. A here is the government, all right? Mr. B here is the one hiring, okay? This Mr. B, what he does is that he runs an organization whereby he posts jobs, he goes to organizations, find out the kind of personnel they need, get the information, then go back to his own office, then advertise that there are certain positions vacant in certain places. So people will begin to apply through him. So once he has been able to get every once he has been able to get the requirement given to him by the government for the personnel is needed, then it comes back to the government and profile. Okay, you said you want 10 accountants, 10 qualified accountants. These are the 10 qualified accountants. So now the government is not going to be is not going to be relating when it comes to payments and benefits. The government is not going to be relating with the personnel directly. The government will be relating directly hiring company. All right. So it's the hiring company now that will now be paying these people's salary and their benefits. And don't forget, if government is paying his own personnel that he has employed himself for 50,000 naira, the hiring company or the contract staff will never can never get that same 50,000 naira because if the government pays 50,000 naira to the hiring company, there's a percentage they will deduct, all right, before it eventually gets to them. So these are contract security services. Are we good to go? Contract security services. So the hybrid system now is a combination of these proprietary management and the contractual line services, which is the contract security services. So that's how it works basically. Okay. Now let's continue. Now, speaking of the hybrid system, there are four components that are very, very important. I believe we can see the board clearly. Okay, now let's continue. Now it says that there are four components a good hybrid security system must possess. Okay, there are four of them. We have one, we have two, we have three, and we have four. Okay, there are four. Now, let's go straight into it. The very first one is incorporation. Then we have consistent contract management support. And we also have the periodic reviews and accurate quality measurement. Are we good? Incorporation. So as well, we have consistent contract management support. Okay, consistent contract management support, and we also have periodic reviews. Okay, meaning that incorporation must, don't forget, these are two different people, all right, or two different systems coming into one. So each must be incorporated, all right? Each must be able to work with each other. Okay, each must be able to work with each other without hassles. There must also be consistent in management. Okay, there must be consistent in management support, and there must be periodic reviews. All right, their system, their constitution, everything must, their activities must be consistently reviewed just to provide a better service. And we have quality measurement. Okay, so we have accurate quality measurement. So basically, these are the four components that are very, very important. So now, speaking of the contract services, don't forget the contracted security services I spoke about. Speaking of the contract security services, there are some advantages. Okay, so why do we have contract securities? Why not the regular management, the security management? All right. When we say contract securities, now we're simply talking about, let's say, for example, I have an organization, okay, and my organization is a very big organization. I have different departments. I could have just created a security department for my organization, all right, but I choose not to. Rather, I went to an organization, all right, company to contract, okay, contract them for a particular period of time. Don't forget, every contract is time specific. All right, every contract has timing. So I gave them a contract that in the next 5 to 10 years, I'll be needing security service for my company. And if I'm okay with the services, I will renew at when the contract is mature. Okay, so basically that's what it is. So some of the advantages of this system are: number one, costs. All right, number one, advantage of contract services: costs. It is economical when we compare it with the um, proprietary. All right, proprietary. Don't forget, we said this already. It is cheaper. Here is more. Don't forget, here is more like the in-house security, security that you establish. Like I use the analogy of me owning a company and having my security department. All right, as compared to the contract, when you contract the security department out to an organization, when it comes to cost, it is cheaper. So the administration also, so hiring contract guards help in the development and the administration of the recruitment program. All right, you're not the one doing the recruitment. You're not the one doing the advertisement. You don't have to go through the stress of getting the right person to fill in the right position. It's none of your business. That is the job of the contracted organization. Okay, so we also have staffing. Okay, when we talk about the in-house um, security service, their staffing is not flexible. Okay, their staffing is not flexible. But speaking of the contracted services, their staffing is flexible. In what sense? All right, there's enough personnel to go around. When we say flexible staffing, peradventure, a position has been fixed with a personnel, but unfortunately, there are, there are some um, there are some things that's needed to be attended to, and the staff needs to leave work or take permission because there are enough staff to go around. They can always such a personnel can always be replaced easily, all right, without any hassles. So this is what we're talking about: flexibility in staffing. So we have that as that. So let's take a step further. So very quickly, it says here the development of private security, the development of private security service in Nigeria. Now let's look at the development of private security services in Nigeria. Now, in speaking of which, the involvement of private players in the management of security locally and internationally has become what we call phenomenon in a recent time. All right, having um, the private sector coming into the security services is more of a recent phenomenon. Now, considering the historical development of private securities in companies in Nigeria, one will not agree that the presence and activities of private security guards lay the foundation for the emergence of private security companies in Nigeria. Now, the use of guards working individually, all right, or those commissioned by unregistered private security comprises, all right, company had been in existence prior to the nation's independence. Well, I've been told that even before independence, that we have had private securities working even before they become an organization, even before it becomes what is now generally and publicly known now. Even before the independence, we've been having private securities, and that is very true. That's very correct. You know, we hear of instances like having the vigilantes, all right, going around protecting the community and doing some. They're actually employed and paid by the community. Okay, so we have that as that. So also, um, we have we have the in the genesis of the security services in Nigeria, we have the ancestor. Should I use the word ancestor or should I use the way paver? All right, that's the NISCO. All right, NISCO happens to be the way paver. All right, for security companies in Nigeria, private security companies in Nigeria. NISCO is an abbreviation for the Nigerian Investigation and Security Company. That's NISCO, Nigerian Investigation and Security Company. That um, was it's an outfit providing uniform security guards, all right, uniform guards in Nigeria, and it came into being in 1965. So NISCO here happens to be a uh, a private security company, right? And this private security company stood out among every other. It stood out. It branded out completely. You know, when we say branded out, it says here that the private security outfits providing what? Uniform guards. Okay? Uniform, uniformed guards in Nigeria. And ever since then, the numbers has been increasing. It is not just increasing, it has increased drastically. All right. So now the expansion of private property in Nigeria, as a matter of fact, and in Africa generally, is the key factor. Okay. You know, when people start to amass wealth, all right, when people start to amass wealth, when you have individuals having so much properties and they no longer become safe to walk on the street, or they need people who can watch over their property while they are asleep. All right, this is the key factor to the growth of private security. Okay, in both size and profile. Okay, property owners have recognized the commercial benefit of employing their own security forces. Okay, Just like we have all these big complexes, all these big complex with expensive goods, big shops, big organizations with expensive goods and things. They want their own personal security, all right, security that can be dedicated to the protection of their property, to the protection of their business. This is the key factor to the growth and expansion of private security in Nigeria and in Africa. So we call it the expansion of private properties. The expansion of private properties in Nigeria and Africa. All right, at large is the what? Is the key factor. Is the key factor in the growth of private security companies. All right, private security companies. So basically, it is what it is. So let's take note of that, and very quickly, let's move straight ahead. All right, and considering the fact that um, a lot of back and forth happened with the Nigerian police and some policing system made it also necessary, all right, that this responsibility of security is not just for the government alone, all right. The burden is way too much for the government alone. So private other private organizations running these services must come in to rescue the government. So now let's quickly take some points on this, where we have the reasons for the growth of private security sectors. So very quickly, some of the reasons for the growth. All right. So the very first point we have here, I want us to quickly cover this before we call it a wrap for today. So the very first point we have here is that human insecurity. So we have some of the reasons for the growth. Okay. So the very first reason we have here is human insecurity. Human insecurity. Very simple and straightforward. Okay. So general human insecurity has been one of the major factors that have been a serious threat to African society. A lot, all right, of threats have always rendered African society insecure, as colonialism, tribal conflicts, border conflicts, and the likes. But general insecurity, okay, general insecurity at the domestic level is usually the terrain of PSCS. All right, don't forget we said PSCS is an abbreviation, an acronym for Private Security Company Services. Okay, so let's take note of that. Please, let's take note of that. So we also have, having spoken about the human insecurity, we also have, okay, I think we need to call it a wrap here for today. Because we gotten into other the time for other classes. So just to mention but a few, we also have the at the end of Cold War, we also have globalization and the likes. So in our next class, excuse me, in our next class, we're taking it up from the legal framework. Okay, the legal framework of security companies. So thank you very much, everyone. You have a wonderful evening. I believe you'll be able to gain something in today's class. I look forward to seeing all the subsequent tutorials. Bye for now.